We're coming to you live for the Built for Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Monday morning. Got the Knicks looking great against Denver and then terrible against the Lakers. You got the WBC cranking if you're into that sort of thing. And NFL free agency, yes, it's a tampering period, and you got whatever stupid euphemistic title is attached to it, but it's noon today. That's what it is. It is noon today. Things are going to be flying around. Things are already flying around over the weekend. You had Maxx Crosby dealt to the Ravens, which was a bit of a shocker to me. Thought it was going to be an NFC team, and we're going to find out sooner than later. The biggest question of the offseason around here in New York, who the hell is going to be the starting quarterback for the Jets? Could it be Geno Smith? Could that be the one? Could it be Carson Wentz and Frank getting back together? It's not going to be something that's going to blow your doors off, but we want to know. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. I'm doing all right. And I got to tell you, so in the last 2 weeks, there have been, 7 or 8 NFL trades?
Yeah.
And when we left on Friday, I said, man, buckle up because it's going to get really, really busy. And I think the tampering period's already started myself. And, and none of these trades are consummated until March 11th, which is the new year, which obviously is Wednesday. So today at noon comes all the negotiations, supposedly, and you can actually reach out to agents and players can reach out to coaches and things of that nature. So when you think about this, so it really, you had the Jets. I kind of feel like got this thing started over the last 2 weeks. Where they traded for T'Vondre Sweat from the Titans for Jermaine Johnson, their edge rusher. Then you had David Montgomery going to the Texans from the Lions. They also released Joe Mixon at the same time. Then you had the Patriots trading center Garrett Bradbury to the Bears because the Bears center was retiring. Then you have DJ Moore going to the Bills. And then you have, of course, Maxx Crosby, the big one, going to the Ravens, which is incredible. It sounded like the Patriots were involved there, and there was some people out there within the NFL, hierarchy when it comes to media saying that Tom Brady would have never traded Maxx Crosby to the Patriots. And then you have Zaire Franklin going to Green Bay. He's the Indianapolis linebacker. And then, of course, the Buffalo Bills traded Taron Johnson to the Las Vegas Raiders. And that doesn't even count Trent McDuffie,
right?
Who
which
is now
happened.
going to be the highest paid defensive back for the Rams. He went from the Chiefs to the Rams. And by the way, like I said, the Rams are going to have to spend money because of this rolling 3-year salary cap floor that they have been under. And they made Trent McDuffie the highest paid defensive back in the history of the league with a 4-year, $124 million contract.
I feel like every year we're talking about that. This is the highest paid defensive lineman. This is the highest paid cornerback. This is the highest paid quarterback. Keeps going up and up and up with NFL business. But yeah, the Maxx Crosby thing, I thought it was going to be the Eagles or the Bears. I thought it was going to be an NFC team. But when you got the offer that you get from the Ravens and a couple of first-round picks and a team that's not looking to take a step back because John Harbaugh is no longer there, they're looking to be right back into the mix. They didn't fire John Harbaugh or move on from him because they're rebuilding. They want to reset, and they want to go right back at it in the AFC, and nothing says that more than trading a couple first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. And I see a video where Maxx Crosby goes, I can't believe this is real. Believe it's real because you demanded a trade out of there for the last 6 months.
And I guess there was something to be said about that supposedly heated conversation or tense conversation that he had with Tom Brady at the Raiders facility.
That's right. And then the whole Alex Guerrero thing that we brought up last week, and I didn't like him milling around. And even though he loved Mark Davis, because who doesn't love Mark Davis, there was just too much happening there for Maxx Crosby with all the losing that was going on to want to stay there. So he goes to a winning organization. Those are 2 times that we've seen 2 first-round picks go within the conference. One with the Jets and the Colts with Sauce Gardner, and now Maxx Crosby and the Ravens and obviously the Raiders. And you don't normally see that. I feel like when teams are making these big deals, and I know it's not within the division, but within the conference is still rare, I feel like. But not with these 2 deals.
Yeah, the other thing, too, now is that the Las Vegas Raiders take over the top of the NFL draft power rankings with this trade of Maxx Crosby. They just passed the Jets. The Jets have been holding on to that spot since the season had ended. Now, there will be compensatory picks that are added into this list. It looks to me like there are going to be 16 teams that don't get anything. And then there's going to be like 2 or 3 teams that are probably going to get at least 4 picks. So remember, they're tied to whatever they have lost to free agency and whether or not a minority has come off of their staff and gotten a higher job somewhere else. So that's all kind of factored into the mathematical equation for compensatory picks, which probably will be announced, I would think, Wednesday. So we'll find out more as to who is getting more picks and where those picks will reside. Never, it's usually mid-third rounders all the way up to the 7th round. Yeah. So those will be added into the mix now. But right now, when you look at where the Jets are, obviously still 216, 33, 44, and 103. So they have 5 picks in the top 103 players. The Raiders have 1, 14, 36, 67, and 102. So they have 5 picks in the first 102 players. So there you have it. And, this is going to be a game of chess now for Darren Muji when it comes to not only free agency, but when it comes to the draft. I mean, that's really going to be – it's going to be a telltale sign how he moves around and what he does and whether they decide they think there's a young quarterback that they think that they can develop. I'm not so sure that there is one there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up using some of this draft capital to at least add some quarterback to the mix.
Yeah, and also the rumors about guys that have connections to the organization and connections to the coaching staff emerged over the last couple of days. As I mentioned, Carson Wentz and Frank, something that we had talked about a lot, and Carson Wentz coming off a tough injury with the Minnesota Vikings last year, but I give him a ton of credit. He tried to play through absolutely everything last year until it was just too much. So if he is healthy, he didn't play all that bad last year, quite frankly.
He hurt his left shoulder, not his right shoulder, and he did have surgery on that shoulder. He could be one of the guys in the mix. We've talked about 10 different guys. I don't get, fans are talking about, I want this guy, I want that guy. I know what I think that they may do, but I could be totally off. They could also be thinking about somebody we're not even talking about.
Sure.
There could be some other connection out there, but I know that, teams want at that position at least somebody that can communicate the language of the offense. Like, they don't want to stick somebody in there that has never done this before, especially under the current set of Jet circumstances. They want somebody that's proficient in the offensive language. So that's why I keep saying, is it somebody that he has had in the past? And yes, Jacoby Brissett would fit that. Carson Wentz certainly would fit that. Kirk Cousins doesn't fit that, but Kirk Cousins is older, smarter, and has been through a number of different systems that he would be able to pick it up relatively easily. So there's got to be somebody that is able to get in the huddle on day one and be able to call play. They're not, they don't have time. They have to win some games.
Oh, of course. I mean, I know that a lot of fans will say, oh, you get the number 1 pick next year, and then who the hell knows? Are you talking about a richer quarterback draft? No, that's not the way that Woody Johnson's looking at it. It's not the way that Aaron Glenn's looking at it. That's not the way Darren Muji's looking at it. These guys have to look like they have a handle on what's going on this year, win some games, not be a joke to keep their jobs. Now, when you say you think you have an idea of what they're going to do at quarterback, what is it? Because you said that. I think I have an idea of what they're going to do. You can't say that.
You try to put me on the spot.
You can't say that and then not say anything.
All I'm saying is that, so I moved to 4 different times in my career.
Yeah.
And all 4 times that I moved into my career before I moved to that place, the question was, are you proficient in this offense? And 4 of those times.
By the way, guys, listen up. Dropping crumbs here. This is a crumb drop. This is a Boomer crumb drop.
Stop. You got to stop making stuff up.
I'm not making stuff up. This is a crumb drop. This is what you do when you're not going to say something. You're just dropping crumbs and leading us to a place. So go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that. And all 4 times that I moved, I spoke with the offensive coordinator. Now, twice I knew the offensive coordinator really, really well. So he knew that I was able to handle his offense and everything that he likes to do. And then the other 2 times, same kind of situation. where I knew the offensive coordinator and I knew what he wanted to do. Now, when I moved to Arizona, it was Jim Fossil. And Jim Fossil ran the same offense that I had ran in Cincinnati for 13 years, and then I ran with the Jets here. And when he presented the game plans to me, all he did was switch the numbers around, meaning that the higher numbers were the running plays and the lower numbers were the pass protections. So I could learn it relatively quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say is that if they do go with and I see all the stuff on social media. I want this guy. Don't get that guy. This guy sucks. This guy stinks. I mean, this is where the Jets are. This is where nobody's going to be happy, or not everybody's going to be happy, I should say. They're going to be detractors no matter who they sign, because that's just exactly what the world they're in right now.
Yeah, of course. And the Jets are going to have to get that stink off them themselves somehow, some way. So, all right, so you're telling me it's either going to be Jacoby Brissett or Carson Wentz?
I don't know if Jacoby Brissett is even the Cardinals want to keep him. What are they going to do? I think if the Cardinals go for Malik Willis, which obviously makes sense because of the LaFleur brothers, and conversations back and forth, and whether or not Matt tells Mike, hey, Mike, this guy would be great for you guys out there in the desert. You should go after him hard, and you're going to pay him $30 million a year. Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's slim pickings, let's put it that way. And they just need somebody that, like I said, could get in that huddle. They need two guys. I believe two veteran quarterbacks, the giant model. Okay, that's what I'm calling the giant model. Yes,
giant model of last year.
Yeah, that's what they need, and then they can draft one wherever they feel there's a guy that potentially has something that they could develop. And by the way, all of this stuff could be on a short-term basis.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing. That's the thing about it, and that's why let's just say they go with Carson Wentz as one of those players. The reason they're doing that is I don't care what any Jet fan says about Carson Wentz. He sucks. Don't bring him in. He's always hurt. This, that, and the other thing. When he was with Frank in Indianapolis, he actually played really well until he got COVID the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, long COVID.
Right. And then last year, as you said, he went out there and he played with basically a busted up shoulder that he needed surgery on, and he played reasonably well.
He did. I got a lot of respect for what he did last year.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But again, it's not going to be good enough for some Jet fans. Well, I'm sorry, there's not that much out there. There just isn't.
No, of course not. But basically, what they need is someone who has experience, who could settle things down, who is sort of the quarterback version of what Frank Reich is at the offensive coordinator position. Someone who's got experience, someone who's been there before, someone who's competent. You can trust. You don't have to worry about any nonsense going on. And that's why, even though Frank and Kirk Cousins haven't worked together before, and I understand it's a big thing, and you don't want to have to learn another offense, and Kirk Cousins has learned like 1 million offenses in the last 5 years, but he could do it. He's got experience in doing it. That, to me, is the best option out there if he wants to come and play here.
So, with all this draft capital that the Jets have, they do have money available in free agency right now. They're going to have more money available in free agency next year. You have to wonder, and I know they're all collaborating, and I know they're all working together, but if there is a guy that has separated himself at the moment, you would say that Darren Muji has done that. Now, depending on what he does here and how well he does in free agency and how well he does in the draft, is he looking next year to this quarterback class of next year? And in order to be involved in that quarterback class of next year, you obviously have the draft capital maybe to hold on to see what happens next year. But, maybe you go a cheaper way at quarterback. Who knows? All I can think is you don't hire Frank to come in here and not have a profound effect on the offense. You're not bringing him in here so this offense does what it did in the last 5 years for the first time ever, and last 5 games. I think they're the first team in NFL history to lose 5 straight games by whatever it was, 24 points or more.
Yeah,
you're not bringing Frank in here because that's why you're bringing him in here.
Yeah.
So you don't go through that crap again.
I mean, it was Aaron Glenn going, I need help, and I need someone I can trust who's a friend to come in here and help me dig out of this disaster.
And also help manage certain offensive situations, especially if Aaron's going to be calling the defense. Because if you're calling the defense, you're spending a lot of time on defensive adjustments, looking at the game plan, looking at the tablet, talking to your defensive captains, talking to his new defensive coordinator. Meanwhile, the offense is on the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got to have a guy you can trust that's going to be up in that coach's box, and he's going to be able to say, "Hey, listen, we can go for it here. I got to play for us, or let's punt it away, or let's do." He has a guy now that he can actually count on and trust in situations like that, which is a help, I think, to Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, and if you look at the guys that Frank has worked with, there's only two guys that are available to, and maybe Jacoby Brissett isn't available. We don't even know.
We don't know that.
So there's really two guys that would make sense that could come to the Jets. That's Carson Wentz and Jacoby Brissett, and Wentz we know can, and Brissett we're not sure. But I mean, if you think of some of these other guys, there was a lot of retired guys, like Nick Foles, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning. There's a lot of retired guys. And then you have Sam Ehlinger, who just signed again to be a third-string quarterback out in Denver. Bryce Young, they're not getting rid of Bryce Young. So Brian Hoyer, who's got to be 100 years old now in NFL years.
But again, there are also those wild cards, like the Deshaun Watson wild card.
Yeah.
There's also, there's also the Tanner McGee from Philadelphia. He knows Nick Sirianni really well. Frank does. I mean, there's a lot of, there's so much talking going on back and forth, and just trying to figure out who are the right guys. Now, I could tell you that I think that they're gonna. I don't think they're swinging for the fences, but I think they're going to take a couple shots here and there and see if something shakes loose. But I know what they want. I know what they're looking for. It's just a question on which one of these guys is number one going to want to come here.
Yep.
And number two is, look, whoever it is, Jet fans out there, half of you are going to hate it, and half of you are just going to go, okay, it is what it is.
Well, and unless
nobody's going to give it, you're not going unless they do some sort of trade that I doubt is going to happen. But you never know. You just never know. Darren Muji's got a lot of cards up his sleeve right now, and he's actually played a pretty good game thus far.
Yeah, unless it's Deshaun Watson, where I think initially most people will be negative about it. Not so much about the stuff that has passed off the field, with the fact that he hasn't played and he's been hurt a million times and all those things. Like, You're really going to resurrect this guy's career? We haven't seen him play. We don't trust him. I don't know anything about him anymore.
It's speaking of coming back from injury, like Deshaun Watson's trying to come back from, Jason Tatum is playing 10 months after Achilles injuries. And he had his Achilles surgery that next morning.
He did.
And that surgery takes about an hour. No speed bridge, none of that crap.
Right back at it.
And he's out there 10 months after surgery, which is nothing short of a miracle.